Welcome to episode 123 of the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Neisser. I welcome Denise Sicheneder from Spinzo to break down the top 10 highest performing theme nights of this past year, from licensing and community engagement to even some surprise breakout hits. We're going to unpack how teams use nostalgia, cultural relevance, and a smart strategy to build packed promotions, why some nights succeed wildly while others fall flat, and how to build long-term momentum with fan groups, community partners, and themed mini plans. All right, let's get to it right now. We are excited to talk about theme nights today, and from Spinzo we have Denise Sicheneder to talk all about the best theme nights that Spinzo saw this year. So many great ideas, so many great nuggets, but we're just going to dive in. But Denise, appreciate you coming to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. Excited to talk about this topic. It's so fun.
Yeah, these are so many great ideas. I saw y'all post this on LinkedIn, and I said, we've got to talk about this because so many ideas, so many different directions that teams could go to be able to sell more tickets, get people to their games. So you have a top 10 list. We're going to work from 10 all the way down to 1. So let's start off number 10. Harry Potter Night sold 323 tickets. Let's talk about the team and the bundles. What did this all look like?
Yeah, so this was a promotion that came together pretty quickly last fall for the Sacramento River Cats. They had to go through some approval processes, obviously, to use the licensing for Harry Potter, but they put together a special ticket and hat package. And to be honest, they started promoting this August 30th. The night was September 21st and sold 323 tickets super fast. Wow. They work directly through their internal channels, because if you think about your email database, when you're talking about something like a Harry Potter night, you're intrinsically going to have a number of people that are going to be tied to it, and that are going to feel like, oh, well, this is another way for me to enjoy a River Cats game. Now I'm going to get a hat that's dual branded for two things that I love, and who doesn't want that? So they had this come together pretty fast, but it was very successful. We haven't seen them come out with it just yet for this year, but I would potentially think that it's going to come back around. And I think that as you take something like this to the next level, and I think one of the key things with theme nights is, like, we can go out and we can get some people that are excited, but how do we really explode it? So I think for them, it's going into those fan groups, those niche Reddit, threads that people are talking and so excited. I think bookstores, I think there's lots of different ways. And what I love about Harry Potter too is that it goes across so many different age levels, right? Mm-hmm. You've got kids that are reading Harry Potter. You've got parents that are reading Harry Potter to their kids. And then you've got people that have started reading Harry Potter from the beginning and they're now adults, right? So there's so many different avenues to take that one. So a first year, and I think we're going to start seeing this hopefully continue to grow.
So you mentioned it was about 3 weeks that they used to promote it. What do you recommend? Because you see theme nights all the time. 3 weeks is a very tight window.
Yeah. This question I feel like is it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, I think you can do things where you promote them very, very shortly. And I will say there is a theme night we'll talk about later that I'll mention even a shorter window for a team that launched it, from when they launched to when they actually had the night. But it's a night that people know is always coming every year. So I think that's exciting. That's good then. So I think personally, I like to give it at least 6 to 8 weeks to have some breathing room. I know there's a lot of teams that will come out with their schedule and announce their nights right away. And I think there's value to that, because I think you can get a little bit of excitement once you announce the night. But if your night is announced, say, for example, in August or September, but isn't happening until February, I think the magic is not letting that die and making sure you're working with those little groups that you can go out to that can help continue to drive the night. And that process has to continue to happen between that window. So if you want to go short window, great, go short window, go all at it all at once. But I think if you're going to have a longer window, announce it, get people excited about it, have some sales, but then continue to trickle sales. And then I think the key is timing your marketing with those last 6 weeks to be able to really drive home and grow your numbers.
Love it, love it. All right, let's move to number 9. De los Muertos sold 432 tickets.
Yeah, the Anaheim Ducks use this, and it's brilliant, to be honest, because if you think about Dia de los Muertos, that's right around kind of the beginning of NHL season when many times, depending on your market, sometimes people are thinking football. I don't want to say it out loud, but it's a little more difficult to sell hockey in October or November. So
Yep.
they did this in early November. It was November 3rd this past year. They actually have sponsored tied to it. So they had McDonald's tied it as a sponsor for the night. And then they also had a trucker hat that they gave out that was themed for Dia de los Muertos. And it was sponsored by Hernandez Salsa. So they had a salsa brand that was tied to it. So they really went all in with the theme here. And it was very, very cool to be able to go ahead and sell that and get that trucker hat as a part of the package as well.
No, they also had full engagement throughout the entire arena,
Yeah.
right? What did that look like?
Yeah, and I think that's where, things go from like a group promotion theme night to like a full-on theme night where you really take over the whole involvement. So they had mariachi bands playing, tying into the thing. They had a muralist out on the concourse, so you could see a muralist, and they had some other specialty merchandise that you could purchase as a part, of the night that wasn't necessarily tied to a ticket bundle. It was just available there on the concourse. They also worked with some other various cultural groups to get them involved, in different performances, different things on the concourse in and around the game. So I think when you can take that full engagement and kind of tie in game operations, marketing, and sales, that's when you really take a day and really make it something that stands out and is exciting, and you can continue to build from there.
Yeah, love it. When you sold 432 tickets on your first try on something like that, I think that's you got a winner, regardless if you're NHL, NBA, or even down to summer collegiate teams. Like you sell 432 tickets, that's a winner for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, number 8, Filipino Heritage Night, 539 tickets.
Yeah, so I think Heritage Nights can be very, very successful, and I think it's a matter of figuring out what works for your market, and where you guys are really strong. So this was Dallas Mavericks night that we're speaking of specifically here. They've done it multiple years, and what the key thing is here is the hat. They create this really cool dual branded hat that is like hot off, like everyone wants to have it. So they sell this out from a standpoint of how many hats that they buy and sell out the package. So it's a ticket and the hat package. And they see these hats being resold on eBay. Like that's how much people love them. They're just really like, if you go look, we could share the link. We'll share the link. I'll show you where it's at the end, but like on Spinzo Pulse. But you can really see how this hat is like it's iconic. They love it. People love it. So they also tie in some pregame party events for those that buy through the special link. They also do a postgame free throw. So those people are gonna get multiple experiences as a part of that opportunity.
So what do you recommend to teams that want to do Heritage Night to get buy-in from their local community? Because sometimes I've seen teams just run off with it and it falls flat. And I've also seen teams that have built relationships with their local community and it takes off like a rocket.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's that relationship with the community and finding someone that's a champion in your community. So just like we search for group leaders that are great and that love our product and want to help drive people to our product, it's the same thing with a Heritage Night. And I think it's really important with a Heritage Night that we don't make assumptions, that we go and we talk to that group and find out what would be important to them and what would make an impact for them. Because if you do those things, they will follow, right? So if you put together a Heritage Night and it doesn't speak to me, if I'm that heritage, then I'm not going to go and be a part of it. But if it is going to speak to me and you've engaged some different groups in the community that I'm tied to, number one, I'm hearing about the night multiple different places because I'm likely frequenting those, and if I'm getting other people in my community to go or other people that I'm tied to go, then I'm gonna go too. So I think it is really about that relationship, and I think it's important for teams that it's you want to throw these nights up because you want to sell tickets, but it's also you have to have that patience to find that right person that's gonna help you plan the night right, because you'd rather have a night that sells 539 tickets than a night that sells 50 tickets, and you can have that same result without having spent the time and the patience to build that relationship and find that right person.
Yeah, and I think that to echo your sentiments here too, the fan experience side of things as well. So if you theme out the night, you're picking their brains about the things that would resonate with them from a fan experience. Could be cultural dancers, could be whatever it is, right?
100%. Or even a fundraiser. There is maybe a local tie or a need in that in that community, and you could do a fundraiser that could be super impactful and get a lot of results just because you've tied that in as a part of the night. Because again, if you guys come out with the messaging that you're talking about something that's important to them, they understand that you just didn't create this out of thin air. You've actually done your research and you're now trusted, and you can actually continue to grow in that community. And I think that's where these things don't just start out huge, they grow over time, but that's just what a relationship is too. So
yep, you are spot on about that. All right, number 7 on our list, Margaritaville night, 770 tickets. This one, I love this one, not just because
Your
I'm
favorite,
a Jimmy
right?
Buffett fan. I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. So anytime teams do this, I'm always kind of like, all right, what did they do here? But 770 tickets is unbelievable.
Yeah, so this is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they do, and you're going to hear their name again a couple different times when we talk about these theme nights, because they do them really, really well. So this one, they tie a ticket with a Hawaiian shirt. It's Columbus Blue Jackets themed, of course. They call it the Last Shaker of Salt package. So, of course, very on brand.
Yep.
And they blow out this night. So they do, the music is a part of it. They have that kind of like whole theme around the night, and they sell the tickets. One of the interesting things that they do about this, and I think we kind of talked a little bit, hinted a little bit about this, is that you can have things that are group sales focused and you can have things that are like marketing or game operations focused. They do a really good job of making both of those happen. So they actually do a preferred price for groups. So they have a promo code gated offer for group buyers. So where their group salespeople are going out and finding those niche groups, whether that be the Parrot Head groups, the Parrot Head chapters, all of those groups, and they're sending them to a specific gated promotion that has a promo code where they're also mass marketing the same night, but at a higher price to the general public, for example. So they're able to achieve both things in a way. And I think that's what's really cool, because they can grow these nights really large, but they're also incentivizing their group sales rep to go and drive that revenue with niche groups, which is what these theme nights need to continue to grow and foster. So you can find, Jimmy Buffett fans everywhere, but you got to go find those groups that are really going to tie into it. Ian Wilkinson, who is the manager of group sales there, did an interview with me on what's called Spinzo Pulse, and we'll make sure that that's shared with your
The link in the show notes. Yep.
Yeah, so we did a full half-an-hour conversation of this. They're pulling people from Indiana. They're pulling from the other side of the state. I mean, they really are going after this. And they found strategically that because of that, they have to plan this on a Friday or Saturday night, ideally a Saturday night. So those people will actually come in and make it an event because they love to hear the music. They do have an affinity for hockey. And they, of course, want that exclusive Hawaiian shirt that they can add to their collection, right? Who wouldn't?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So what I find so fascinating about this one is most teams, and I'm kind of a little biased here, but most teams go, okay, we're going to do a Margaritaville night. We'll do the jerseys and auctions and what have you, but it's a single game ticket driven promotion. They're just trying to sell single game tickets, where if you do a little bit of elbow grease, you could find some Parrot Head groups out there that'll buy 50, 60, 80 tickets.
Absolutely. And if you get out in advance, like this is the one where you talk about promotion wise, like if you know that you're going to be planning this, the group sales perspective, you've got to be going out and finding those, Parrot Head chapters, and you've got to be going out and talking to them and saying, hey, here's what we have in the mix, because they can't turn on a dime, and do something in 2.5 weeks. Your numbers are not going to be there. So as you start planning and schedule comes out and you put this on the docket, it's like, okay, I'm going to go find all the Parrot Head groups right now, and I'm going to talk to them, make sure they know this, get this on their calendar as an event that they have. And then you're going to continue to follow up with them. You may not see the sales until 3 weeks out, but at least they can now plan and be available and, make it happen.
Absolutely. Now, this one for Margaritaville night, do you have to get approval through Jimmy Buffett's group?
Yes, they do. They don't do anything exclusive with, there's nothing exclusive on the shirt, for example. But if they want to use his name and likeness, yes. But they use tribute bands typically. A lot of these teams will use tribute bands for some of these band ones, which that already intrinsically, they've already worked through that process. So It's not as difficult as, say, a Harry Potter having to go get official licensing. So.
Got it. Okay, cool. I will make sure I'll put
Yeah.
a link in the show notes to Spinzo Pulse and that conversation about Margaritaville
Yeah.
night because that is so fascinating. I love that one. I think that one's so far my favorite. But we're headed to number 6 here with Batman Night, 955 tickets. Batman Night, like you don't see
Yeah.
this one out there a lot, but this one seems really cool.
Yeah, so it's tying into DC Comics, getting licensing through typically through a company called BDA, which is a promotional products company, which has these licenses. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these theme nights that are tied around these nostalgic brands that we all love, they've already got the licenses. So they go work there. They're able to put together a exclusive jersey and a ticket package, and people love it because there's people that just love that. And I think again, it's there's people that like to build their wardrobe, like, hey, you
Mm-hmm.
can't just have one black dress, for example. Us women say that, but like people that are hockey fans, they can't just have one hockey jersey, right? They
Mm-hmm.
got to have a whole array and a whole collection. So when you start providing these additional jerseys and swag for them, and it's like, oh, this is a unique one and you can only get it through this package, they want to buy it, they get excited, they want it. So I think that's some of it. And I think who doesn't love Batman, right? Your kid,
Yep.
you were saying, like, adults love Batman. They grew up with Batman, but also
Yep.
kids now are watching Batman and love it. So I think these types of brands that are still alive and still around, but have that nostalgia for some of us older people that have kids now, want to bring our kids to it's a win-win.
Yeah. What team did Batman Night?
That was also the Columbus Blue Jackets. So
God, they just kick butt
they're
on some of these theme nights
they
for sure.
are.
They've got it figured out. I love this one for a couple things because when you think about hockey fans intrinsically want to collect the jerseys, and you don't see that as frequently on the baseball side of things. Have you seen any baseball teams do Batman Night, and what might that look like? That would be probably a hat or something like that. Just brainstorming out loud here.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any specifically, but that doesn't mean there aren't any doing it. But I think it could be a hat. I think the jersey concept could also work too. I think that it doesn't have to be wild and crazy. It could still work as a jersey, and I think people love the jersey concept, and to be able to wear it again back to a game.
Love it. All right, number 5, Bark at the Park, 1,670 tickets. So this is
Yeah.
something baseball teams do all the time, but it sounds like some hockey teams have done this as well.
Yeah, so these numbers are tied to a couple different teams. One, a soccer team, so obviously a little simpler to be in an outdoor venue. But yes, we also have an ECHL team, the Cincinnati Cyclones, that do what they call pucks and paws. So there's a little bit different name, but when you think about this, typically what happens is that they're selling a human ticket and then a dog ticket, and there's lots of requirements. So this one, there are a lot of details, and I would say I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed, but when you do it right. So they typically require at least one human for every dog, so you can't exceed the number of dogs. So if you have 2 dogs, you can't bring 2 dogs and just one human. So they try to make sure that there's also lists about like whether your dog has been vaccinated. I know the Colorado Rapids do some things with like making sure that your dog is mature enough to be in that environment, because as you can imagine, if a dog isn't socially adept and able to handle all of the people and all of the other dogs, that could be an issue. And then there's a lot of working with other departments to make sure that everything is set up. So the Rapids have like a grassy area that they've fenced off. So when you come in through a special entrance, and then you have the ability to go back out to that area to allow the dog to relieve themselves. They obviously have water bowls and those types of things. Their ticket package includes a bandana for the dog. So the dog gets a little special Colorado Rapids swag, which I think is really cool. They actually planned a whole series of them this year too. So they did one in the spring, and they're doing one in the summer and the fall. So they've kind of earmarked some games where they need some more assistance to be able to drive some of this. They also have done some things where they've tied into a fundraiser for local shelters or rescue missions. So that's another way to get the message out, with partnering and then doing some fundraisers there. And then for the Cincinnati Cyclones, they do this they have some they have a pretty large arena that they don't necessarily fully sell, so they take a huge section and make their pucks and paws night up there. And then again, it's one dog for one human. They also tie into the game promotion. They do wiener dog races on the ice, which is really fun. They create a $1 hot dog night too, so perfect promotion, right, from a food perspective. So they can make it really fun and make it really exciting. And I think this, to me, if you think about your email database, there's so many of your fans that have dogs. So this is just another way for them to enjoy the game. But I think it also, if you look at some of those outside groups, like, tying to vets or shelters or rescue missions, this is a great way to introduce new people to your product, because there are a lot of people that, their dog is their best friend. We say that man's best friend, but like, if they can do something with their dog, then they're all in. And so I think it's a great way to open your product to new people, but you just have to make sure you go through all the processes and think through all the little nuances in this one.
Absolutely. And then similar to Margaritaville night, if you do some digging, you could find a lot of niche groups. This is the wiener group here in town, or the other types of pug groups in town. Like, you could find those Facebook groups and Reddits and all these different places, right?
100,000%. And think about too, the dog competitions. Like, you could pull those into the mix. You've got those trick dogs, or like the showcase dogs that'll do the jumping and all that. You could pull them in, and there's probably whole groups of that. You could go to dog trainers and think about working with them and seeing what they, because anyone that's gone through dog training, those would likely be great candidates to come and sit in your ballpark because they have been trained. Or could you do some sort of dog training class before the game? There's so many different things, and now you got me excited, because I love these kind of spitballing of like ideas of like, okay, you've got this concept, now let's take it to the next level. There's so much that you can do there.
I love it. So I've seen more and more teams move from having one night for Bark in the Park, Bark in the Ballpark, to more like themed Thursdays or what have you. Do you feel like it'll eventually turn into like ticket plans?
Well, funny you should say that. So I actually I noticed this actually, I don't want to say it was Sports Business Journal or one of the different publications, but the San Diego Padres actually have a season ticket that you can buy. It was a partial plan where you could buy it with your dog. So the two of you would be able to come to a game. It was a special area in the outfield. You have a special entrance. It is an exclusive. So they've literally worked on this and had this happen, and they sold that out super fast. So that just goes to show you that there is taste and a market for these types of things. And what my point was in this article I wrote on our ticketplaybook.com website was that if you can do this with Bark at the Park, like, what other theme nights like this that can you do the same thing for, and now start getting people in that stepping stone of becoming season ticket members in a way with you, because they're tied to something so specific.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like, if you think about it, even going back to like Batman, and you have Spider-Man, maybe it's a comic book 5-game plan or something like. Just brainstorming out loud, right?
100. But that's where my mind goes, Jeremy, too. Is like, okay, yes, you love DC Comics. Like, okay, we've got all these superheroes. Okay, this is this night. This is, and you. Again, the extent to which you completely take over the night can be up to you. But if they're getting an exclusive item every single time they're coming back, and now they've got the whole series, like that, that makes people really excited. So I think there's opportunity.
Yeah, and it also tells us that there's niche audiences of interests of what people are fired up and interests about. So I think you're spot on. So, all right, number 4, First Responders Night, 2,932 tickets. So when a lot of teams do First Responders Night, they're like, oh, it's just free tickets, and they try to do it as like a free offering or what have you. But 2,932, this is paid tickets, right?
Correct. Yeah. And this is a number of different teams. So there's a variety of different teams that do this through us. And I will say, candidly, there are teams that still do the complimentary ticket. There are teams that will do what they call like a package. So technically it's 2 tickets and you pay a flat price for it. The concept is there's a free ticket and a paid ticket together, but we know they're doing a little split the revenue, but that's okay. But I think what makes, again, if you're going to charge for these types of tickets, what's the value add? What are they getting? And so again, this comes back to an exclusive item. I know a lot of teams, there's those challenge coins that they'll use. So that's a very popular thing, not only in military, but also in the first responder world. There's jerseys or exclusive jerseys. There's hats, there's mugs. I mean, there's all sorts of different items that they'll tie into it. But I think the added thing too is then tying it into something that they're a part of the experience. So many times we've seen like police versus fire hockey games or basketball games or, soccer games. There are leagues. I mean, there's a police athletic league, PAL. They're active just like we are in our own industry for say. I know there's teams that will have basketball games on their court prior to the workday. Like these guys and girls are very active and they want to be a part of it. So being able to take them and be a part of that, I think there's also, if you think about first responders, like at least police versus fire, there's a lot of like competition on what's better, right? I think there's that whole guns versus hoses type of thing. And, firefighters, we stay in the firehouse all night. We work 24s, where police said, no, we don't do that. So if you can create a competition amongst them too, like for the greater good, I think you can see that work very, very well. So again, I think it's that, how do you get them involved in some special experiences as a part of the night? And then how do you provide them something that's new, cool, exclusive for them? A lot of these nights too will also tie back to local charities for, fallen firefighters, police officers, the National Police Memorial Fund, those types of things. I've actually seen too, if there are, because unfortunately, there are times where police or fire or other first responders fall victim to a circumstance while they're fighting, whether they're in their line of duty, so if there's a fundraiser tied to a specific cause that has been in your community, that also can do very, very well because people want to rally behind that. And if there's a way for you guys to honor that family or that, their firehouse or their precinct, those types of things do very, very well.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for this one and some of these other ones is actually taking the time to have the conversations with the police and the fire and talking about that rather than just saying, hey, we're going to do first responders night and hope for the best, which a lot of teams do that and it just doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. So.
No, you can't just throw something up and say, hey, we're going to appreciate you when you don't even know how they want to be appreciated or what would be impactful. I think one of the big things about first responder nights, and first responder can be a very broad term, so I think you have to kind of be specific as to who those responders are, because you do have police, you have fire, you have EMTs, but then you also have nurses and frontline employees at hospitals, for example. So are you including all of them? Are you separating them? Are you doing a police and fire and then doing like a nurse and hospital appreciation? So I think those are the types of things that I think that are really important to be crystal clear on who you are honoring or appreciating. And I think they all deserve to be appreciated, but just make sure that they understand who's being appreciated so that it speaks to them, because what's going to speak to a nurse is not necessarily the same thing that's going to speak to a police officer.
Spot on. We've reached the top 3 here. Denise from Spinzo. We're going through our top 10 theme nights. A lot of great ideas, a lot of great tactical ways to think through these. So let's dig into the top 3. Number 3, Hello Kitty Night, 2,444 tickets sold.
Yeah.
This was big.
This one took everyone by storm, like really fast this year. So we started to see a number of West Coast teams do these nights, and then now it's grown beyond. What's exciting about this one is we're seeing a lot of different takes on it and on how to do it, and a lot of different takes on the item. Like, what are you doing? Again, this is a licensing through San and BDA has that for you. So we saw, plush items. We saw tote bags. We saw lunch boxes, like those metal lunch boxes, like from back in the 80s.
Still
like
got
that,
it.
Like, yes, we saw those too. Key tags. We even saw a team do a meet and greet with Hello Kitty, and they were charging a large surcharge. And I will say, we're starting to see that isn't in our list right now, but we're starting to see other character meet and greets do very well. We actually have a golf tournament that's doing a Blippy meet and greet. So trying to tie into that younger market. And what's ironic about that is in the PGA Tour, anyone 15 and under is complimentary to get in. So they're basically making a package of charging 2 parent tickets, and then you get access to this meet and greet. So we're not even charging the kids. We're charging the parents to come and have their kids meet Blippy, but then dad gets to watch a few and mom gets to watch a few swings of the golf course. So this Hello Kitty concept is very similar to the fact that people, like we talked about Batman, you've got people that are parents that have kids that want to introduce their kids to Hello Kitty. You've got the parents that are like, oh, I still want that Hello Kitty lunchbox, So I think this audience is so far and wide. And then it's just that nostalgia of what it is. And Hello Kitty's happy. I mean, look, she's just happiness. So it's been really cool to watch that night just kind of explode. And I think one of the questions that we've been asked a ton is like, okay, well, is it only a West Coast thing? And it's not. We've seen
Nope.
teams on the East Coast do it. We've seen teams in the Midwest do it. So I think there's an appetite for Hello Kitty all over the place, and it's the new thing right now. So I think if you're going to do it, jump on it, do it right now, and then we'll see where it goes. We'll see if it has the stamina as our number 1 and number 2 nights.
Love it, love it. So on the Hello Kitty night, was that more of a single game ticket sale, or did they do the elbow grease to find Hello Kitty fan clubs? What did that look like?
Yeah, a lot of it I think is single game ticket sales right now with just the excitement, and I think that some of it is the what drives it is the urgency or the scarcity of the items, because they only ordered so many items, not knowing if it's going to be successful. So those items then became people were very excited about them, and teams did a really good job of saying we only have a limited amount. So I think this year, as we go into year 2 of Hello Kitty nights, this is where we're going to start to see that elbow grease to say, okay, now, someone's got an item last year, maybe they don't want to come back just yet. So now let's go find those niche groups that are excited about it, and that want to be a part of it.
Yep, but that one for sure, you definitely need to get some approvals before you start whipping up some promo giveaways or what have you for it. So
absolutely.
Number 2 is a tried and true Star Wars night, sold 4,112 tickets. That is, teams have been doing this for years.
Yes, they have. And the nights continue to stay, at least the ones that we've seen, pretty substantial. I mean, we're talking most of these nights are around 750 to 1,000 tickets. And people are excited to come back year over year. So I think there's a lot of repeat buyers in a market, especially when you go back to them. And I think what keeps them coming back is a different item every year. So we've seen shirts, and the shirt will change every year. Hats, cups. It's as long as the night is, or it speaks to Star Wars, I think people love it, and it really is an item-driven night. I mentioned there was a night that was launched and sold more tickets faster. The Ducks did this. They launched it December 2nd was the first views we had on the link. The night was December 18th, and they sold over 1,000 tickets.
2
We're
weeks
talking 16 days.
Wow!
16 days.
Holy moly!
They go very strong. They went very strong with social media. They went back to their past buyers. Excuse me, they did some text messaging campaigns as well. So they went out in a full force to a lot of different channels to get people to come back to this. This is another one where there's those niche groups, the Legion groups, all the different, groups tied to Star Wars that you could dive into and find and talk to and get them excited about it. And I think it's a matter of just constant communication and then talking to them. We've seen nights where there's been people dressed up in character. So can those groups help you? Have people come in character because they do have those, costumes and they want to be a part of it. And that's a really cool thing for them to be a part of it. So how do you get them involved in the night and help make the night more exciting for you and your fans without having to make it more difficult?
Love it, love it, love it. All right, and number 1.
Do we need a drum roll?
Go ahead. Number 1, Grateful Dead night, 6,844 tickets. This is eye-popping.
Yes. So this is a number of teams, I will say. Again, some of the nights that do the best for Grateful Dead or the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche, so the same organization, they were kind of the first ones on our platform to do it and do it well. So they worked directly through Grateful Dead properties, through Rhino Entertainment, and got approvals. They go and get a specific approval for their shirt or their jersey. I know I've seen some other teams do bucket hats too for this one, so that one's kind of a neat look and feel. But they go and get approval for the item. They get approval for the number of items that they can sell, so they create some urgency around that. They use tribute bands in the concourse. They play the music throughout. They go out to local Deadhead groups. The Grateful Dead Properties actually helps them promote it a little bit too as well through their channels of who they have tied in their database in their local market, and this one does so well. So another, again, go get the right approvals, and then it can be very, very successful for you.
Well, there is our top 10 list. So many great ideas, so many great takeaways. Just looking back, is there some lessons that we can take away from some of these to say, obviously we need to get approvals, we need to kind of do some elbow grease on some of these, but what are some other lessons that you take away from these top 10 that I think would be super helpful for teams?
I think it's relationships. So yes, doing the elbow grease, but it's the relationships and finding those people that'll champion in your market, that are passionate. So they're passionate about whatever the theme is, but also passionate about your brand and willing to help you. Because I think if you lean into those people and you build that relationship, they're going to help you expand and bring ideas to you that you may not have even thought of. So I think that's one. And then I think it's internal communication. So making sure that you are communicating internally, having a clear understanding of what the night can fully entail. How big are you guys going to go as an organization? And again, you don't always have to go huge, but if you're going to go all in then. And then that's where you rely on that relationship with those community influencers that can help you. But being able to be on the same page is going to be really important to make these things run smooth and make the experience what you want it to be in your arena or venue on the night, because many times these are people that are coming into your venue for the first time potentially, that haven't been introduced to your product, and now they're being introduced to your product, and the whole goal is now to get them back. So make it a great experience, have them enjoy it, and then bring them back again.
So many great takeaways, so many great ideas, so many great advice here. So just appreciate you, appreciate Spinzo, just being out there in the forefront of helping teams sell more tickets, talking about theme nights and promotions. I think one of the things that I'm kind of blown away by is just the mention the Padres doing a mini plan for dogs. Like, I think that's such a fascinating idea.
It's awesome. I love that concept of being able to take something that started as one night and how do we create it as something that is now an official product. So I think you could do that with like beer fest nights too. You know, like how do you create something like that that could be really fun? To your point when we were talking about DC Comics, like having a whole comic strip hero night. I know teams will do it with bobblehead nights too. So that's an option too as well. So lots of opportunities to take these nights to the next level and continue to grow your fan base.
Perfect. I'm going to put links in the show notes to the Spinzo Pulse. If there's other links to some of these promotions and theme nights, we'll put them in there in the show notes as well. And if someone's interested in talking to you about these theme nights or even learning more about Spinzo and how Spinzo can help them sell tickets, I'll put your contact in there as well.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, if anybody wants to be connected to someone or at one of these teams that did one of these nights, we are happy to connect them. That's what we do. That's why we share their successes, because you know what, in the sports industry, we've got a lot going on. So we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel every single time. We can take what's working and apply it to our market and run. So I think, working smarter, not harder, is really important.
Absolutely. With that being said, Denise, appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.